Alright, this is Quizzes Lesson 2. Write the expression. So let's practice. 5 times the difference between 19 and 13. So my key word here is difference. I'm going to start there because I know that's the answer to a subtraction problem. And 5 times means I'm going to do 5 times or multiply. So here we have the difference between 19 and 13. So I'm going to first have to find the difference between 19 and 13. So I'm going to subtract there because difference tells me to subtract. So I'm going to do 5 times that. So I'm going to do 5 times, or I could write 5 times the difference between 19 and 13 where I subtracted here. It doesn't matter if you have your times 5 at the end or the beginning, you're still going to get the same answer because the parentheses tells me to subtract 19 minus 13 first. All right, the next one says the product of 6 and 8 added to the quotient of 10 and 5. Okay, so that is got a lot going on there. So let's look at it and break it into pieces. Let's start with product. Product, I know, is the answer to a multiplication problem. So that part I've got to put in parentheses because I want to do it first because I need to take the answer of that multiplication problem. So product of 6 and 8. So I know I'm going to be doing 6 times 8 somewhere in parentheses because I found that product. Then it says added to. So I'm going to add the product here to the quotient of 10 and 5. Quotient means divide. So I'm going to divide 10 and 5. So I'm going to add the product of 6 and 8 to the quotient of 10 and 5. So I'm going to do 10 divided by 5. So here you had 2 keywords. Product, so I have to have that in my parentheses, 6 times 8. Quotient, got my parentheses here, of 10 divided by 5. And I'm adding those two together. So the answer here is 6 times 8 in parentheses plus 10 divided by 5 in parentheses. Okay, and we had 2 keywords here, product and quotient, so we had to have 2 sets of parentheses because those were the answer. So I'm adding the answer of the multiplication problem to the answer of the division problem. So the next one is 4 less than the product of 3 and 6. All right, 4 less. That means I'm going to be subtracting. Okay, 4 less means I'm going to be subtracting 4 from something. 4 less than the product of 3 and 6. Product means I'm going to find the answer to my multiplication problem of 3 times 6. So product of 3 times 6. And I need to do 4 less than that product. So I have to get the product and then figure out what 4 less than that is. So that means I'm going to have to take the product and subtract 4. So I'm going to find the product and decrease it by 4 because it's 4 less than that. Okay, so right here, 4 less than tells me I'm going to do minus 4 at the end. Okay, 4 less than means I'm going to take away 4 after I find the product of 3 and 6. So the next one says the product of 2 and 6. So here I'm multiplying 2 times 6 subtracted from 15. So I'm going to take my product of 2 and 6, so 2 times 6. So I'm going to take that product and look here, subtracted from 15. So I have to take my product subtracted from 15. So I could either do 15 minus 2 times 6, or I could leave my 2 times 6 and then do minus 15. So let's see which one makes sense. Am I going to take 15 and then subtract the product of 2 times 6? So the product of 2 times 6 subtracted from, that sounds right. Or would I take my product and then take away 15? Am I going to take my product of 2 times 6 and subtract 15 from the product? No, I'm not doing that. I'm taking my product and subtracting it from 15. So my final answer here is going to be 15 minus parentheses 2 times 6. Now pay close attention to the difference here. In this first problem, it says 4 less than. That's a clue that I'm going to do that at the end. Here, I'm taking my product and subtracting it from the number 15. If it's coming from that number, that means I'm going to do it at the beginning. Okay, I'm taking it from 15, so I'm going to take 15 minus that product. Subtraction can be a little tricky because you've got to get in the right order. Pay attention to when it says less than or subtracted from and really think through the problem. The next one is 2 times the sum of 4 and 5. So I'm going to take 2 times, that means I'm going to take 2 and multiply it by the sum, so I'm going to be adding from the answer to an addition problem of 4 and 5. So if I find the sum of 4 and 5, I'm going to add 4 plus 5. That would give me the sum. And then I need to do 2 times that. And once again, I can do times 2 here, or I can do 2 times the sum of 4 and 5. Either way, because I'm multiplying, I'm going to get the same answer. So either one of these expressions would be correct. 2 times the sum of 4 and 5. Alright, the next one says the sum, so I'm adding again, of 6 and 8 doubled. Okay, so doubled means times 2. So I'm going to take the sum of 6 and 8, add 6 plus 8, and I'm going to double it and multiply it by 2. Or, once again, I can do 2 times 6 plus 8. And because I'm multiplying, it can be in the beginning or the end, as long as I follow my order of operations and solve the parentheses first. Okay, the quotient of 12 and 3 subtracted from the sum of 6 and 5. Alright, so let's pull this apart and see what's going on here. The quotient of 12 and 3. Quotient means I'm going to be dividing. So I would divide 12 divided by 3. Okay, so I'm going to write that down because I know I'm starting there. Subtracted from, so I have to take that away from the sum of 6 and 5. So I'm going to have to go back and erase this because I think that's got to go somewhere else. So the quotient of 12 and 3 subtracted from the sum of 6 and 5. So I'm going to do 6 plus 5 first because that's my sum. That means I'm going to add. And then I'm going to take the quotient of 12 and 3 from my sum. So that means I'm going to have to take my quotient of 12 and 3 subtracted from the sum of 6 and 5. So that's going to be 6 plus 5 minus 12 divided by 3. Okay? The next one is the difference, so we're subtracting, in the product of 3 and 5, so we're going to be multiplying, and the sum of 6 and 2. Ooh, that's a lot. Okay, so difference means I'm going to subtract them. The difference in the product of 3 and 5. So here we're going to do 3 times 5 to find the product. And the sum of 6 and 2. So I have to find the difference in those two, the difference in my product and the sum. So I'm going to take 3 times 5. I'm going to find that product, and then I'm going to find the difference, subtract my sum of 6 plus 2. So you've got a lot going on there. You're finding the difference that we're subtracting in the product, so that tells me I have to solve that 3 times 5 first, and the sum of 6 and 2. So then I'm going to add 6 and 2, and I'm going to find the difference in those two values, subtract. Okay? Alright, so great job. You have a couple of practice problems on your quizzes. You're going to go through those. And then you have a couple of independent practice problems in your Google Slides. So think through it. Really take your time. Don't rush through these. You've got to kind of think through what makes sense. Read the words, and then think about what that means in math problems. What would that look like in a math problem? And look for the keywords: sum, difference, product, and quotient.